Okay, I'm back again. Before I roll this wagon into the shop, there's one thing I'm quite concerned about. You know, after that last video, I let this thing run for a while, warmed it up, and it's got an engine noise that I don't like. I mean, it's got a raspy knock that is atypical, you know, maybe an injector, maybe not, but I need to be sure. And I want you to listen closely. I'm going to fire this engine up and let you listen to this knock and see what you think. You might be able to hear the knock here at idle. It sounds very typical of injector noise. Watch what happens when I bring it off idle. Well, you can't hear it very well due to that belt noise. Let me show you a little trick how to temporarily get rid of belt noise. Just pour a bunch of water on the belts. Kind of stay out of the way. Now that'll quiet the belts down enough just to hear this knock. You hear that knock right there? I think it's wise to go ahead and do a diesel purge on this before we do anything else. The diesel purge will often quiet down bad injectors, so that will help us isolate the problem. I have my diesel purge tank all set up here, and we're ready to give the engine a purge. If you're a diesel owner and are not familiar with this product or how to use it, you must find out about it. This is the absolute best medicine for a sick and tired diesel. This is not something that you put back in the fuel tank. You have to run this directly through the engine, either through a small tank like this or a bottle setup. I have complete instructions on my website. I have an on-demand video that's available there, and we do sell diesel purge also with complete written instructions. I've hooked up the tank, I've primed the pump. You can see a little bit of diesel right here that's coming back into the return sub-tank and the purge down in the bottom of the tank. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to start the engine up. You won't notice a big difference right away. Remember, diesel purge not only cleans out the injectors and the injection pump, but it also gives you an indication of whether any kind of a metallic sound that you're hearing in the engine is related or not to your fuel injectors. If it's fuel injectors that were making that noise earlier, it's going to quiet down. You'll hear that as soon as you start running diesel purge through the engine because of the amount of lubrication in the purge chemical. It really quiets the injectors down. It quiets the nailing down in that sharp wrap. Now it's going to take about 5 minutes before it cycles through, so I'll start the engine, let it run a little bit, and then we'll come back. I'll let you listen to it, and let's see if this engine is savable. Okay, it's been running for 20 minutes, and we're nearing the end of the purge here. And if anything, the knock is more pronounced because the injectors have quieted down. Can you hear the knock? Just bring it off idle a little bit. Right there, you can hear that. I've heard that before, and it could be a piston. Okay, let's talk a little bit more about that sound. You know, I don't want to sound alarmist, but you really have to be careful about some of these diesel engines. You know, they can develop certain knocks, and some of them are quite easy to repair, but when you have an internal knock in an engine, it means tearing the engine down and eventually overhauling it. There are really no shortcuts. This isn't an old Chevy V8 you're talking about here. So before I advise the owner, I am going to pull this in the shop and do one more thing. That's I'm going to remove the valve cover, check the camshaft, check for a loose rocker arm or something in the valve train that might be causing that knock. And at that point, we'll have to make the decision whether or not we continue with this car. You know, I see a lot of things wrong. I see broken motor mounts, hoses, lines, leaks everywhere. So, you know, when you're talking about fixing up one of these old diesels, you need to have something going for it. You need to have something that makes it worth fixing, even if it's a wagon. So we'll roll this into the shop, and in the next part in this series, we'll get to see what it looks like inside the valve cover.